Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
It's a skeleton crew here, to say the least. Whoa. Who had Paul Perillo being one of the only ones in at this time of year?
Judon is their highest paid player.
Does that worry you? It worries me.
I don't know. I'm such a draft nerd that I kind of know.
You know everybody. Humble
guys.
brag.
No,
no one's ever been on the training camp field I didn't know.
saying-
Taylor Strong and Kevin Harris? Like, oh, jeez.
We had a fire alarm at our apartment at 2:30 in this morning, so I'm just a jinx.
I
We
don't
do
know
have
how-
some emails.
Why don't you read some? To say that, like, the movie itself isn't great. Like,
No, it's a great piece of cinema history.
it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's
I
a
don't
great...
know, this is doesn't hold up. I was young when I saw Jaws for the first time.
And will we have a Catch-22 Thursday?
Yes,
or you
we
guys?
will.
Oh, well, so that's a special treat because he's smart enough to know that I do not listen to Catch-22.
Wow.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
That show sounded a lot more off the rails listening back to it than I felt like we did a good job.
I do too, and I totally agree.
Right? And now that we listen back to the opening, I'm like, what were we talking about?
Alarms, drills, you name it.
It was a lot.
Were you guys talking about Jaws?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
the
is
season.
Is it an off-season show?
It is the season.
It is. Well, it's not a skeleton crew today. We got Alex, we got Matisse, we got Paul, and you got me, Evan, in the host chair. I don't know how I feel about this yet.
I feel great about it.
Evan actually has to facilitate conversation today.
I can't just take over conversations. So I'm gonna have to allow you guys to do the talking today. But I feel like the Patriots did us a service by
They did.
making this news last night with DeVante Parker's contract extension, because now we have something to talk about.
They listened to the last show.
That isn't Jaws and traffic and Boston stoplights and things.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But there's a lot to talk about here with DeVante Parker. I think just in itself, DeVante Parker as a player that looks like he's going to stick around for a couple years. What this means for the offense currently, the current makeup of the roster, and then obviously the effects that it has potentially or not on DeAndre Hopkins and the sweepstakes for DeAndre Hopkins. It does sound like from various reports, Ian Rappaport, Mike Reese coming out and saying that they don't feel like this is connected to DeAndre Hopkins. I have some doubts about that, maybe a little bit, but I'm curious to get your guys' opinion just on DeVante Parker in this extension. Why, I think, is a lot of the question for a lot of people.
It's interesting, and we should just sort of give some nuts and bolts. Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, was the one I first saw yesterday.
Yeah.
I think he's been credited with, quote-unquote, breaking it. 3 years, $33 million, which is not really overly relevant. That's, a lot of fluff. He used a phrase, and we'll get to this later, but he used a phrase about guaranteed money that I thought was very ambiguous. $14 million in guarantees and roster bonuses, which aren't the same thing.
Right.
So I think the bottom – I just wanted to get like the nuts and bolts of the contract extension. We can talk about that afterwards. But in regards to Hopkins specifically, as you brought up, Evan, this might sound weird. I don't think it has anything to do with it financially. But I do think it might have something to do with it just in player acquisition-wise.
Yeah.
I think it might be small, but I think the chances of signing Hopkins are a little less today, I feel in my mind, than they were on Tuesday when we talked about
Does
it.
it push it more towards Cooks, maybe?
Cook.
Or Cook.
Yeah.
No.
No?
No.
Not affected at all?
No, I don't think that this stuff is related in general. I don't. But I'm still going to take Hopkins at his word, and I'm saying his word. Everybody keeps writing
Reported word.
Yeah, he's waiting it out. He's going to wait till training camp. I take that as his word. I think he's probably trying to drum up a little bit more money, a little bit more interest, and he'll wait till training camp. Yeah. I think that's probably the way it will unfold.
Alex?
I feel like that was always, the way it was going to unfold. Initially, when I saw the report, I was like, okay, are they maybe moving money around because because Hopkins does want to wait? Maybe is DeVante kind of, I don't know, there's probably a lot of egos in the wide receiver room right now that have been hurt over the last year into this off season. So was there a situation where it was like, hey, I don't feel loved right now?
I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I hope that Parker really has a year this year where we can kind of see what his potential is. I feel like there was so many times last year where he'd make a really big play and then the O-line would be offsides or something and it'd get called back. So obviously him being healthy is the biggest thing, but I don't really know what to make of this situation.
You saw some, not reports, but on Twitter, he was kind of the odd man out. If Hopkins came in, I think this just locks him in for the year.
Not on this show.
Not fair. But then you also saw the mini camp press conference. He was kind of like quiet on the whole Hopkins situation. So
well, he's a quiet guy in general.
He was salty.
He's really hard to read. He's really hard to read. I think he's really shy. I think he's a good guy, but I think he's shy.
But that being said, I think it locks him in for the year. You don't really need to. He doesn't need to worry about that. So
yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from the Parker angle. Is just all this tells me is that he's not going to be the odd man out if they do sign DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to be here. He's going to be in the offense. He's going to be involved. And I think on the surface, just on a micro level, I don't mind the contract and I don't mind the player. I think he's a productive player when he's out there. Paul, you might not like this, but the nerds love him. The analytics love him.
Some of the nerds love him.
So, Warren Sharp doesn't like him, and we can get to that.
Let's not be discriminatory against the nerds. Let's count them all.
He's a different kind of nerd to me. Analytically, he's an efficient player. 17.4 yards per catch, 11.5 yards per target. Doesn't drop very many passes. There's a lot of things that he did very well last year. Granted, in only 47 targets, he actually converted more of his targets into explosive plays, 20-plus yard plays, than any receiver in the league. Now, guys like Jalen Waddle get targeted 120 times, and he only gets targeted 47, so the sample size is a little bit different. But I think DeVante Parker as a player is a useful, solid piece when he is out there and he's getting the ball thrown his direction and things like that. With that being said, my big picture concern about it and why I can't love this move is it's another thing that tells me that this is the tax bracket that this team is going to operate at the wide receiver position. It's going to be Juju Smith-Schuster's. It's going to be DeVante Parker's. It's going to be Kendrick Bourne, who's another guy that's in that mid-level contract status. And every once in a while, they might throw a 50th overall pick at the position to get a youth and get some young talent in there. But they are never going to be a team that's going to overextend for a wide receiver.
How do you guys feel about it? Just curious.
I think that I feel kind of similarly to you, but I think that Hopkins might be the outlier here, just on the affinity that they have for each other. I don't know. I think
I can be proven wrong easily. If they sign DeAndre Hopkins next week, I will eat crow that maybe they're changing, but I also need to see the money on Hopkins, because if they get him at a discount because of the situation and the circumstances of his release and everything, then it's still not changing philosophy. And their philosophy, their spending model at that position tells me that they don't want to overextend for a wide receiver. They're never going to pay the big diva wide out, and you're going to get by. They think they can get by with this type of group, and I just don't necessarily think that that's the way the league is trending or the way the position is trending.
When Parker's on, I think he's an above-average receiver. Like you saw flashes of it last season, but if you're paying a receiver in his 30s, I'd rather have paid Hopkins. So
yeah, and I mean, I'm going to get to the nerd stuff later because I'm curious. Yeah. In all honesty, I'm curious on some of the different numbers, which ones, because I'm not as much into the metrics as you are, Evan. I'm curious to which ones are more important than others. But a couple of things on this. Yeah, he's 30 years old. I think it's sort of been portrayed as a pay cut disguised as an extension. I don't really think that that's the case. I think he's going to end up getting more money than he was due.
Certainly more upfront money.
Now, we all know that when you do these extensions, typically the base salary in the first year goes down, which opens up some cap space. His base number, it was something like 5.7. He's probably going to have to be on the field to get 5.7, but has a chance to get more than that. So obviously you want him to be on the field. Right? So it's not like, whoa, geez, if we can keep that under 5.7, well, that's not good if you kept it under 5.7. But the thing that I don't like about the extension the most is it signing off on future DeVante Parker years. Like, I can't imagine that he's not part of the equation, at least in 24.
Yep.
Now, I don't know. Is this a true extension? Like, is it 4, 5, and 6, or is it the first year was sort of ripped up and this year, so only 2 more years?
Correct. So he's signed through
which is what they usually do.
Now.
So I don't love the idea. And Alex, you're gonna get this analogy because you're so Celtics centric. It's to me.
What team are we talking
to
about?
me, DeVante
I'm a
Parker.
Grizzlies fan. Just kidding.
I'm going to rip
that's
that
for
to
the-
shreds
that's
I
for the
had to
second
leave-
hour.
I had
That's the
to
second
leave
There's
the
no
state.
chance I'm going to let that one go. But anyway, the Bridgies. Do you remember the Bridgies for the Celtics? The Jay Crowders,
Yes.
the Isaiah Thomas,
Yes, the
to
fun
me,
years.
DeVante Parker should be a Bridgie.
Yeah.
He's a Bridgie receiver. He's not a stiff. This guy was the 14th overall pick in the draft in 2015. I absolutely loved him coming out of Louisville for Miami. He's never really panned out to be that.
Right.
He's not a bust, but he's not a star either, and has never been one of the better receivers in football. He's never been healthy. Oh, by the way, he wasn't healthy last year when he missed 4 games and really missed 6 games because there was 2 that he barely even played in. So he's the kind of guy that you plug in, and we're a little bit weak at receiver. He can give us something until we can get what Evan wants. The stud.
But my concern
Now,
is
this is, to me, putting off, addressing the position.
to me, that's my concern. My concern is that, and this is kind of across the board, honestly, in a lot of positions with the team, but especially on offense, they just seem to be content with fine. Okay, he's a fine player. He plays a role. I think that a big part of it is what Alex was talking about a little bit earlier, that this is a guy that's put his head down, that's worked hard, that's played ball. He hasn't spoken out in the media. He wasn't one of those guys last year in the locker room that was ripping the coaching staff.
This is the 2023 version of Devon Gotcha.
Yeah, doing all that kind of stuff. And they took care of one of those guys. But are they content? Are they okay? Do they feel that they're fine at wide receiver? Because just for what it's worth, Bill Barnwell did his annual supporting cast. They were 26th in the league in weapons, right? Playmakers around the quarterback. PFF did it a couple weeks ago. They were 29th in their rankings. So I think they are a little bit better than that, maybe, but I don't think that their world's better. I think that they're right in that 20 to 25 range probably. And where's the needle mover? Where's the difference maker in this group? And if you're committed to DeVante Parker for, let's call it a year, maybe 2, and you're committed to Juju Smith-Schuster for a year or 2, there's not a lot of other targets to go around. There's not a lot of snaps to go around, and you still have the 2 tight ends that you want to incorporate too. I think this means less chance of DeAndre Hopkins. It probably means less opportunity for Tyquan Thornton.
Okay, I want to get to that as step 2. Okay, and this is Paul is quote unquote worried about everything. We talked about this on Tuesday, and I do. I worry.
It's a fair worry.
I grew up in New England, and unlike you young folk, I didn't grow up with nothing but championships. I had a lot
I had 5 years of my life with no championships.
I hate you. I had a lot of
I was
time
8. I was 8
where
years.
my team consistently fell short. So I'm always thinking in those terms, what could prevent us from winning? How can something go wrong? Because my first 35 years, they were always coming up short. So what I worry about is, does this mean they don't love Tyquan Thornton?
Yep.
They haven't seen that big year 2 sort of progression. Lesser, but still sort of part of this equation. Do they see nothing of the 2 6th-round picks? Booty and Douglas. If you're looking to get, I saw a lot of people write, well, they only had, somebody wrote, and I thought this was an odd phraseology, they only had 1 veteran receiver signed next year, Juju. Well, I don't know why Tyquan Thornton doesn't count as a veteran receiver. Going into year 3, you're a veteran receiver, which was what Thornton would be in 24. That's not, you take a guy in the 2nd round in his 3rd year, you're not anticipating him being a big part of your passing game. That's what I worry about.
Right. Well,
and I worry about things that haven't happened yet. I guess.
No, I'm worrying about the same thing because when you look at it, where are the snaps? Like, where are the targets and the opportunities for Tyquan Thornton? And the only way that players like him that are raw, physical specimens with great speed, those guys need to just play. Like, you don't develop in any other way besides just playing. And now Tyquan realistically is your third receiver because you paid Juju, you paid DeVante Parker. You're going to have those two guys out there. And now if Hopkins comes into the mix too, now he's your fourth receiver and he's demoted to the bench permanently for the entire year, pretty much. So again, my whole thing with it, I don't mind DeVante Parker as a player. What I mind is their evaluation and sort of how they treat the position as a whole.
Yeah, I don't mind Parker as a player either. I think he's fine. I just would think that you wouldn't necessarily be looking to extend him.
Yeah.
And I think that he was extended because of what you guys were talking about. Instead of bitching about Matt Patricia last year, he didn't really have anything to say about that. And, I think he did express a little bit of, I don't know, discontent. I don't know what the right word. I don't think he was pissed, but he was a little salty when talking about Hopkins. And maybe this was an olive branch to him. Like, we still think a lot of you. I know that Bill last summer, I know that he was very high on what Parker might be able to bring to the offense. But I don't really think he brought that to the offense. I think he was fine. I think he was okay. But I don't think he was anything that you would go out of your way to try to extend. I just thought it was an odd move. Not anything that's going to kill you. It's not big money or anything like that. Don't get caught up in the 3 years, $33 million. That's paper money. That's not real.
It's odd to do it around this time, though, when Hopkins is on the market. I guess that's a big factor as well.
Yeah, and I don't think it has I'm kind of with you guys on. I think Hopkins could happen.
Yeah.
Could still happen. I just wonder if they're sort of. Bill doesn't like the idea of being left waiting around.
Yep.
Let us know what you're going to do. We need to plan. You don't dictate when you come in. We dictate if we want you in. One of those things.
Yeah,
That's what I worry about with Hopkins.
I also saw it as maybe partially Hopkins' contingency plan. Like, we have a guy that we feel good about playing on the outside, playing a similar role to Hopkins, that if it doesn't come together, we have DeVante Parker in the fold, and now DeVante Parker is happy and not pissed off that we try to go after and replace him with DeAndre Hopkins. But I think that's the other thing for me as well that I wanted to ask the panel as I facilitate here is that
you're doing a great job.
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
Great job facilitating.
I do see a little bit of redundancy between Parker and Hopkins, and if they bring Hopkins in and they have retained Parker, obviously, how does that look like? Like, how does that work with having a group that is pretty much similar across the board? Like, and also
Parker's outside and
yeah,
and I guess Hopkins is inside, but I don't really know. We thought that Bourne might be a better candidate to go. Certainly, you and Mike especially felt like Bourne would be more apt to go than Parker, but. I mean, I don't know. There is some redundancy to that. I think they're similar skill sets anyway.
Yeah, I always thought that that Bourne was more. I didn't want to think that. I didn't want to believe that. But at some point, the things that Bourne says in the media and the way that he handles himself, with this organization, that's going to come back to bite you eventually. Like, eventually that's going to be an issue. It was an issue for him last year with not playing, but it was going to be a bigger issue if it continued. And I thought that he had an opportunity in the spring and in his media sessions and OTAs to put that to bed and just kind of say we're not talking about, we're on to this year, we're not talking about last year.
By put it to bed, do you mean sprinkle a little kerosene on it?
And he kind of did the opposite. Right. And so I have to imagine that Bourne's comments in the spring didn't necessarily go over well with the people down the hall. I just feel like that had to have finally been like, we're still doing this. We're still going through the media.
If they sign Hopkins, I wouldn't be surprised if Bourne goes.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Well, then you're just even in a worse situation. Well, not necessarily worse, but like the situation last year, it was like all these receivers, and where do reps go? Aguilar was the easy guy to just kind of put to the side, and then Kendrick obviously didn't play a lot, but I don't know. It just feels like we're in such a similar situation to last year, and this is a contract year for Mac, and it's just like, what's the plan?
Yeah, it's again. I think that there is a little bit of a commitment to mid right now at that position.
And again, like don't mistake this conversation with we're all like, what are they doing? This is going to set them back. No, it's just kind of one of those moves that you wonder why it had to be made.
Yeah.
Not that it's going to disrupt anything. I don't think they sunk any real cap dollars that are guaranteed that are going to I don't think it's going to prevent them from doing anything. It actually could help them do some stuff because it probably adds a little flexibility. Just thought it was one of those odd things that didn't necessarily need to be done.
Definitely did not expect that news to break, and I think like a lot of people, when I saw Patriots and wide receiver, I thought it was a different breaking news
Especially on
tweet.
the phone when you see the helmet.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's
The Patriots have
Hopkins.
sound.
I was driving home and I saw my
Or
buddy Evan
quarter-
Lazar on our little Slack chat. I got the report up there, and I was like, whoa. And I look, and I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. I put my phone back down.
Yeah, our amazing social manager Neil called me, slacked me. I think he texted me too in the span of like 3 minutes about having to get up a post about DeVante Parker's extension.
That's because I put it in the social squad Slack, and I realized you're not in the social squad.
I am
Slack.
actually in that Slack.
Oh.
So don't worry.
Okay.
I saw it, but it was funny because I have
You know I'm not in that.
I have alerts obviously on my phone for Rap Sheet and Schefter. So my phone goes off if they tweet anything, breaking news like that. I was like, I got it. But yeah, it was definitely surprising to see that come down last night. We mentioned Hopkins a lot. You mentioned Dalvin Cook a little bit.
Dalvin Cook replied to a Pat McAfee video saying, I don't have the audio here, but I believe they mentioned he took a visit to the Dolphins, and then Dalvin Cook tweeted, I declined to visit just so you know, my guy. So
he's going. I'm very confused because
I don't know what that means. I'm confused as to what that means.
So
He declined the visit, my
he
guy.
declined to visit to the Dolphins.
but he also said
Who's this guy?
Yesterday.
The guy is
Pat
who-
Pat McAfee.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
Pat McAfee clip, and then he quote tweeted it saying, I declined to visit.
Okay.
But he also
To
said
Miami.
To
yesterday.
Miami. I'm 90% sure I
Need
can't play the
that
audio.
to be a lot more clear.
He also said yesterday, and then there was his agent did some PR, right? Because Dalvin Cook tweeted something cryptic about how he didn't meet with the team that was being discussed, and everybody took it as Miami. And
Is
then
there any other kind of tweet from a player that's not cryptic?
right, and then all this came out about him saying no, like he still is open to playing for the Dolphins, and he didn't turn down any visits. But now he's saying he did turn out. So did he or did he not?
He said he declined to visit.
Jeez.
I could have Matt listen to the video because I want to play it over the air, but
I got to be honest. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in Dalvin Cook as much as I love the player.
I think it's complimentary. It's like when we talked about the draft if the Pats took Bijan Robinson.
I think all that's going to do is make you run the ball more, which makes you less relevant
I mean,
in today's NFL.
It's a bonus to have him, but I don't think it's the end of the world if you don't get him. Like you got Ramondre Stevenson, you got the young guys,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's
complimentary to me.
the running back market is really fascinating, and I'm getting to the point where it could be another Belichick zig where everybody else zags with the running backs, and that's the only reason why I would leave the door slightly ajar for maybe them.
Well, I'm not
being
saying they won't sign him.
involved.
I'm
Do you
just
want
saying
the
I don't-
receiver? Screw
Yeah.
you. You're taking the running back.
Well,
Right.
the main thing
Whatever
is
you
is that
want, you're not going to get.
yeah.
these veteran running backs, and I say Dalvin Cook's 27. It's not like he's 33, right? These guys can't get paid. He's a free agent. Leonard Fournette's a free agent. Zeke Elliott's a free agent.
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt. Josh Jacobs is holding out on the
Saquon.
franchise. Saquon's holding out. So it's an epidemic right now with the running backs that their market value just isn't really there, and the only position where the franchise tag is decreasing in value is running backs. It's going up exponentially across the board, except for one position. And at some point, does it become a bargain to have Dalvin Cook at $6 million for a guy that's made 4 consecutive Pro Bowls? That's put up huge numbers in Minnesota. That's why I don't rule it out, because I don't know if the market is necessarily there for a guy like Dalvin Cook the way that you would think it would be given his cachet in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't dismiss him getting signed. I just don't think it's a needle mover if he does. I really don't. Like Hopkins, I think if Hopkins pans out and he remains that 100-catch guy, I think that could change your offense a little bit. And I don't know how much that catches you up to everybody else in the AFC, but it could change your offense. I think having another good running back, like I think Stevenson's pretty good. I think Cook is better. He's probably more talented, certainly more of a home run threat.
I'm more explosive.
But I don't know how much better that makes your offense.
So this is a big thing. Do you trust what they have behind Stevenson? You know, taking it.
No, that's a totally fair point. But that's kind of like, I don't think he's coming in for like $1 million.
Right.
Like, you want to give a guy like $6-8 million to come in as insurance?
No. I wonder if
now,
it is
if
a
you wanted to
1-2
make
punch.
it, if you just wanted to make him the centerpiece of your offense, then I don't care.
Yeah.
If you just think that Cook is so much better than Stevenson and you want to ride with him, then you know me, I don't really care about the money.
I don't care about the money either. I think, you know, similar to Parker and Hopkins, they can't play together. Like, you're not going to run two running back sets with Stevenson and Cook on the field together.
Right.
Like, that doesn't
so
work.
if Stevenson gets hurt, then Cook could make your team better.
Yeah.
Like, if Stevenson doesn't get hurt, I agree with you. They're not going to play together. So how much better are you?
Is it worth it to, just to play devil's advocate, because I am in the host chair, is it worth it to give
no-look passes, like
150 carries to Ramondre and 150 carries to Dalvin Cook, and they kind of have this 1-2 punch where they're trading series and trading off, you know, situations and things like that, and then by the end of the season, they're both still as close to 100% as they possibly could be.
That would be the ideal situation, I would say.
I agree.
Sure.
Matisse wants Dalvin Cook.
Matisse?
I love the
There's a
shiny
name
object.
for Matisse that I can't use on the air.
PTO Matisse.
It starts with star. Ends with something you can't say.
See, because Matisse is a company man, and he realizes, like I do, that DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook moves the needle for us.
Matisse sees the web traffic.
Listen,
Yes.
last
He
year,
sees the web traffic every
last
day.
year was the first time like I would go to the bathroom when the Pats were on offense. Like, I wasn't excited. There was nothing that I looked forward to on offense. The
That's
defense
fair.
Was more
It was
fun.
defense
Like, it
over-
was absolutely putrid. And if we have Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins, like, something will happen. So
Matisse was like, we got to punt so we have a chance to score.
no, but then Pilardi was punting, which to this day.
No, but as long as we were punting, the other team had the ball, we had a chance to score.
there you go. But
Just get Marcus Jones on the field. That's it.
Marcus Jones. He could be our backup running back too.
There you go. All right. Should we take some of these calls? 855-PATS-500, the phone lines. We didn't have to ask for calls today, Paul. The phone lines are lighting
we are
up.
definitely better off. It's your facilitation, I think.
I also know for a fact that...
Do you know how to do this?
Oh, I know how to do it.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You
Almost
guys,
hit the red
you guys
button.
have to do the other one.
I know for a fact that when I hit the button here for Eldred to talk about this DeVante Parker contract, that Eldred, I feel like you're going to have a pretty strong take on this, my man. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
What's up?
Paul, Alex, everybody's there. Heck no, I don't like that darn move. Compare a 30-year-old, $33 million. You know, like I said, this is typical Bill, and that's why I said we'll never have a star wide receiver as long as he's in that GM chair. I'm sorry, I just don't like some of his moves. Yeah, y'all say he moves the needle a little bit, but no, he don't. And what they say about Mac, I think he don't like Mac, to be honest with you, because he ain't doing nothing to really try to help him like everybody else do. I think he, after last year, he's salty because he got rid of one of his top guys, and he's not doing nothing to help the young man. And that's my only take on it. I'm not a big Mac fan, but at least get a guy a shot. You know what I mean? At least give him a shot. And Thornton, I'm like you, Evan. I play him right off the bat. That's the only way he gets better with that speed. Just can't sit there and coach him like that. You got to let him play. But Bill always liked start his veterans, then start a rookie or a second-year guy unless he's proven something. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I'm with you, Eldred. Thanks for the call. That's sort of where I'm coming from this DeVante Parker extension. Is just it's another move to me that tells me that they are not going to be big investors in the wide receiver position. And you can talk about it from any angle, whether it's cap space, whether it's draft capital, or a combination of the two. We were walking down here, Tease and I was talking, they're never going to make that Tyreek Hill trade. They're never going to do something like that as long as Belichick's here. They're never going to make the A.J. Brown trade, the Stephon Diggs trade. Like, that's just, they're not going to do it. And I think that is disappointing because the way the rest of the league has done things in recent years, that's what everybody else is doing, right? And you look at, I just take a small sample of the final 4 teams last year. You have Kansas City, which has the best quarterback in the game. They also have Travis Kelce. You have the Bengals, who we talked about last week, might have the best receiver room in football. You have the 49ers on the other side, who trade for Christian McCaffrey in the middle of the season, despite already having George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk and a good supporting cast. And then obviously Philly with their two-headed monster at receiver. So the results are starting to turn to the point where the teams that are winning are investing in that position big time. And maybe 20 years ago that wasn't the case. You know, you had teams that invested first-round picks and a lot of cap space on star receivers, and it kind of went the other way where that wasn't worth the investment. Now I feel like it's really proven out over the last couple of years that it is worth the investment. I just don't think that this team is ever going to change their philosophy of how they approach that
It's almost
position.
like it's an arms race, and they're choosing to try to fight it defensively.
Well, it's just so frustrating because you mentioned the Eagles. They get A.J. Brown. Like, look what that did for Jalen Hurts. I mean, Garrett Wilson, like, yeah, Zach Wilson's not that great, but a couple games he went off. Like, you just got to get your quarterback a young receiver.
I mean, I would say it was really significant for with the Jets. The Jets, like, had no quarterback play at all and were 7-4.
Yep.
You know, and ultimately they couldn't finish it off because at some point you need your quarterback to be able to complete some passes, and they had guys that couldn't do it. Now, so they ended up going 7-10, but that was because of everything around them. The defense, the receivers, until Breece Hall tore his ACL, they had a good running game.
Yep.
They had some weapons on offense. They just didn't have a quarterback.
Yeah, I think though we all agree that one of the guys that Bill respects his opinion the most in this whole football world is Nick Saban, and I keep going back to Saban. And this is in the college game, so it's not apples to apples, but this was almost a decade ago now that Saban gave that, I think it was at a coaching clinic or a press conference or something like that, where he said, good defense isn't good enough anymore. You can't win games 17-14 at this level anymore. And Alabama completely changed not only their offensive system, but they completely changed their recruiting philosophy. And all of a sudden they have Jerry Jeudy and Jamison Williams and Jalen Waddle and DeVonta Smith and John Mechie and Henry Ruggs and all these receivers coming through. They're recruiting Tua and Bryce Young, 5-star, consensus top prospects out of high school at the quarterback position. And they completely reinvented themselves from the team that they used to be to light up the scoreboard. And Belichick, so far at least, has been pretty reluctant to adapt and to change to that philosophy. And maybe in the long run, I look like an idiot and he ends up being right, and they win with defense and ball control and limiting turnovers offensively and good special teams and complementary football, and maybe they end up winning like that. But that just hasn't been the track record of how the last handful of seasons
I think
have
you
gone.
can win some games like that. I don't think you can win it all like that. Not now.
There just comes a time when you're going to play the Chiefs of the world,
right?
And you got to stop them.
I mean, you just look at the Super Bowl last year. I saw Jason Kelsey has been trying to talk up Hurts because I guess Hurts took the loss pretty hard in the Super Bowl, and Kelsey was like, "You played a great game. What are you talking about? You're fine." Jalen Hurts had 400 total yards and 4 touchdowns in that game and lost.
Yeah.
He played a great game. He did.
And
it was a circumstantial kind of a loss, like the way it kind of unfolded. The Chiefs made the plays in the fourth quarter, but I don't see a lot of 17 to 14 kind of wins. It can happen. Like an individual game, it can happen. I know a lot of people say, well, it was just 2018. The Patriots won the Super Bowl 13-3. But they ignore the fact that they scored, 40 in the 2 playoff games to get there.
Right.
I just feel like if you think you're going to win consistently over good teams that way, I think it's a tough way to win. That's all. And I don't think that you can play defense at that level against good offenses. I think Saban's right.
Yeah.
I think ultimately Saban is right. I think when you play a good team, to expect to hold them under 24 is that's tough.
You need a crazy windstorm.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be games that the other team's not going to have. Those players aren't going to be available. This is the way it is in this league.
Yep.
But like last year even, and I thought they were better defensively last year than they were the previous year when they made the playoffs. But even last year, when they played, relatively competent quarterbacks, they had a hard time.
Yep.
And the probably the best defensive performance, to your point, was kind of fluky. It was like the second half against Cincinnati, where they didn't allow a lot of points. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I really don't know how they didn't allow a lot of points, but they didn't. And ultimately, they had a chance to win the game because of it. But I mean, if you watch that game and you see the numbers that Burrow put up and the numbers that the receivers put up, and you're like, they had no answers, really.
And that's just the perfect point to this, because as good as the defense may have played in that second half, the offense still lost the game for us. So it's like.
Right. But I'm saying if you could play defense like that against the top offenses, like they didn't allow a lot of points in the second half. If you could do that all the time against good offenses, then your offense is going to be good enough for you to win games, traditionally. I just don't think that you can count on holding good offenses like that. Like the Bengals had almost 500 yards of offense in that game.
I remember
I don't know how they only had 22 or whatever points at the end of the day. I don't know how they only had that amount of points.
I remember pregame, I think it was Emma was walking by Joe Burrow, and he goes, "I'm going for 300 today." Went for 375, 3 touchdowns. Like, none of these star quarterbacks were worried about this defense at all last year.
Yeah, I don't think that any of these star quarterbacks are worried about any defense.
No.
Anymore.
That's my larger point.
Yeah, and I think that's where you still get into the stat that I have to update, so I don't know off the top of my head what their 0-for record is now. But when the opponent scores more than 25 points against the Patriots in the Mac Jones era, I think they're 0-14 at this point in those games. And at some point, you have to be able to win 38-35. You have to be able to win. That was the score of the AFC Championship game in 18, right? It was
37-31 in
30,
overtime.
yeah,
right?
something like that, right? So you have to be able to win a game along the way in a shootout. And you have to have your quarterback and your offense be able to outscore somebody every once in a while. And it's just hard to envision like where that offense is coming from. Even if you project Bill O'Brien really upgrading the system, and even if you project Mac Jones taking a step forward, like where are the playmakers, and how is the consistency going to get to the point where you're putting together 5-6 scoring drives in a game out of 10? That's the part of this whole thing that worries me. But we're all like, I feel like we're all on the same page that it's not about DeVante Parker, though.
No,
right? It's about the philosophy of the team building that's going on.
Yeah, when ultimately, and I think this is what Alex was getting at early in the show, like you have decisions that are going to be coming soon on Mac Jones. You have to figure it out, and I think that's going to be ultimately what decides whether or not they have the offense to keep up. We can talk about bringing in Hopkins. We can talk about bringing in Cook. But if the quarterback can't consistently drive the ball into tight coverage and make plays, and as Evan says, get it locked up in a shootout and come out the other side, the winner, it's not going to matter.
I just see a Mac Jones situation similar to Danny Dimes, where like he's okay, above average, and then you're paying him, what was it, $140 million, because that's the market value.
Yeah, I would say no on that.
Really?
I don't see them doing that.
No, I don't see them doing it, but like there's a good chance Mac Jones will get paid somewhere. So
that's the as soon as Daniel Jones's
convinced of that.
As soon as Daniel Jones's contract came out, though, assuming that Mac has a year that's maybe more reflective of his rookie season and maybe even a little bit better, I said immediately when his agent goes to the negotiating table on his contract extension, that's the contract that I'm looking at if I'm his agent.
And I think they'll pick up the 5th-year option.
Yeah.
Yep.
To put it off for another year. And they'll play it out, and then they'll see.
Because
I don't think they're going to give him that kind of a contract.
I don't think so either. And ultimately, if he, let's say in year 4, year 5, he has like an MVP caliber season, and now it becomes worth it to pay him that money, then that changes the equation. But Tease, to your point, that's the market value now, even for just like a serviceable NFL starter. And it's similar in terms of APY to what Derek Carr got a couple years ago. Now Derek Carr's structure was very different than Daniel Jones's, but it's $30-35 million a year of really mostly guaranteed money because they're quarterbacks. So it's not really like this DeVante Parker contract where, I mean, kudos to his agent for putting 3 for 33 out
the
there.
Noise in the background.
Yeah.
We should probably comment that they're getting ready for Ed Sheeran this weekend.
They're killing us.
apologize.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on at the stadium.
They're
It's
killing us.
louder than Taylor Swift, though.
I
The
don't.
setup.
Who does Paul have to call? Paul's the one with the sway here.
Ed Sheeran.
Who does Paul have to call to
We'll
get
get
him?
him on-
Mr.
we'll get him
Ed
on the show.
Sheeran.
Yes.
Ed Sheeran.
Yes.
Do you guys like Ed Sheeran? I don't know.
I like Ed Sheeran.
Don't love.
There's a.
He's
I
very
don't- I don't
talented.
love it. He is very
He's incredibly
talented, I think,
talented.
and there's a couple of songs that I really like.
Alex played his
Perfect is an
guitar,
excellent
right?
song. Perfect is a perfect song.
Just kidding.
A little bit. A couple strumming.
I saw him do something on TV, like one of the Grammys or something like that, where he like synthesized the whole thing like by himself on stage, and he was playing guitar and like he had the drums all set, and he was like using his feet to like play the bass line of the song. That was incredible. That was pretty cool. I'm not a big Ed Sheeran guy, but
No,
I mean, that's
it's
a
not.
music-
You respect the talent.
That's a
I
I'm
do
not
respect
listening
the
to it
talent,
in the
but
car.
I think that
respect
some of the
talent.
songs, like I know that
Oh, he
people
has some
just
bops.
some of them
Yeah.
just look at like, oh, it's poppy, it's pop music. Who cares? Like, Perfect is a great song.
Yeah.
It's a great
Was
song.
it Shape of You? Was that the other one?
That's a
Yeah.
good song too.
he was also
He
in
has,
Game of
he has more
Thrones,
good
so-
songs than you think.
Aaron Rodgers, Game of Thrones too.
I know,
Noah
but
Syndergaard, too.
I don't like Aaron Rodgers, so. Ed Sheeran was in a Game of Thrones cameo, and I always remember it because it was like so obviously Ed Sheeran.
Well,
Like
he
they just
sang in the episode.
yeah, they
Oh,
just
yeah.
like
that was
They
Was that
just
the one there by the
purposely,
fire or
like-
whatever?
Yeah.
Oh,
they like froze on
bunch of
his face
shoulders
for
and
like
they
3 seconds
meet
just to be
Arya.
like, hey, it's Ed Sheeran.
Was
Did
that
you
the
guys
last
see
season?
that movie? And I forget the name of it. Forgive me, but it's about the guy who he is like a fledgling like musician, but he doesn't really have the talent to go anywhere, and he somehow starts to like sing Beatles songs, and no one knows the Beatles songs.
I saw that. It's an English movie, right?
Yeah.
I saw.
Oh, and
I've
he's like in the future, or he's in
Yeah,
the
it's like-
past, but the
called
Beatles.
Yesterday,
He
isn't it?
realizes the Beatles
Is that
don't
what it's
exist.
called? Yeah.
Sure, it's
Nobody
Yesterday.
knows the Beatles, and people think that
Yes.
he's creating all of these.
I haven't seen it, but
I
I've heard
haven't
it's
seen
good.
it, but I heard it.
It's a funny movie. I mean, it's obviously goofy, but Ed Sheeran is in the movie and he's fantastic in it. And it's like they have like a contest to see who can create a song, and he's just creating like a Beatles song that he hasn't sung yet.
That's funny.
It was pretty funny.
I have a newfound respect for the Beatles. I feel like as
do you now?
as I've aged, like,
Analytics shining
as a
positively on the
kid-
Beatles.
As a kid, I was like, I didn't really understand the hype with the Beatles, but now that I've gotten older and have a little bit more perspective, I feel like
Yeah,
I've
I was
come around.
never like a big Beatles fan, but obviously you talk about respecting the talent. I mean, that is insane.
I feel like
That catalog is insane.
if you weren't into the Beatles, what were you into?
I always like the Rolling Stones better than the Beatles.
Because I was going to say, like, there's
Rock.
probably either Beatles people or, like, more rock people and Stones.
Yeah, for me, it
and,
was
like,
just-
Led Zeppelin.
To
and-
me, it was like that was before my time. I know that you find that awfully hard to believe because you're 12, but that was
I wish
that
I
was
was 12. You
that
guys
was-
are talking about
that was
30-year-olds.
way
like,
before
you're
my
throwing them
time.
out with the garbage here, and I'm like,
that was
damn.
that was like the Beatles
We're
and,
old, man.
and even the Stones for the most part. Although the late Stones like start me up, that was kind of in my middle school years. I was never like really into that. I was more into like I make fun of myself all the time. The disco stuff.
Nice.
I was into the dance music.
Like Bee Gees.
Bee Gees were awesome.
Yeah.
Earth, Wind, and Fire is the greatest
I
group
would have
of all
loved
time.
to see
They're
Paul getting
fantastic.
after it at the club.
Earth, Wind, and
Clubbing in
Fire.
Everett.
Earth, Wind, and
Not
Fire
in
still
Everett, down in town, but
they
I
still
got
throw
after
down.
it.
They still throw down in concert. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh well, they
So
let's groove tonight.
Yeah.
They sang after a couple of Super Bowl Super Bowl parties.
Yeah, they can still boogie. I saw them, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago now in a festival.
Commodores, great stuff.
Okay. Thinking Out Loud and Castle on the Hill, also two fire Ed Sheeran
Thinking Out Loud's a good one.
Thinking Out Loud's another good one. I don't love Castle on the Hill, but it's a good
I like
song.
That one's like catchy
it's a good
and
song.
upbeat.
Should we fire through these calls before Paul's food gets here?
Let's do it.
All right, Morgan in Vermont. What's up, Morgan? Morgan, you're on the air.
It's the Vermont cell
Get my
service.
good
Morgan was
hunting
waiting
version.
for a while.
That was my good
You were
Will
waiting
Hunting
for a
version.
while. You
Morgan.
call back, Morgan. We'll get you on. Patty and Agawam. What's up, Patty?
Well, you've lost your facilitation card because you
left him on the line too long.
0 for 2.
Patty. All
right, Patty, call back second half.
This is where you have to, as the Felger and Maz, you push away from the table if Spee's not here.
Spee, don't embarrass me, Spee. Come on, Spee. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, hold on. Line's ringing.
No Spee.
It's ringing.
No
Who is it?
Patty.
Two lines
I think
ringing.
we're coming back. We're coming back.
So that
It's
means
all right.
Patty's coming back. That would be my guess.
It wasn't me.
Is Morgan coming back?
I don't know about Morgan.
The
This
Vermont
is
cell
usually
service. There's
this
no
is
shot.
usually a catch-22 problem because me and
we
Bart
got another
argue
one,
for
too.
like 45 minutes and the poor callers are on hold for like an hour. Oh, see, this
He
is
was
a new
probably
call.
there. That was me
Okay.
playing a hang-up effect.
This is a new one. Cody in Fresno. What's up, Cody?
Hey, guys. So I think the DeVante Parker move is not really surprising to me. I feel like it makes a lot of sense, especially if you look at the next free agent market for the receiver position. I don't know if you guys are aware of it at the moment.
Yeah.
No, but why are you not surprised that they re-signed a 30-year-old receiver and want him on the team longer?
Well, what would be the other options? I mean, we can
Draft
go
and
to
develop?
the draft as our main resource, but, that's always a crapshoot, especially with the history.
Well, it's less of a crapshoot than banking on a 31-year-old receiver staying healthy who hasn't stayed healthy his whole career.
True, but like I said, the history has never really been good to us. I mean, Tyquan Thornton still isn't anything, and he's been, second-round receiver, I think.
Right. I mean, that your alternative is develop the players that you have. Yeah, the young guys that you have, develop them. Yeah, I mean, I would put the onus on the coaching staff to get more out of some of these young guys that they haven't been able to get production from.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I agree.
And thanks for the call, Cody. We talked about this, I think, during the draft season, Paul, about how it's always the old cliche is that tackles are like the safe picks and receivers are not, are the ones that. But that's really not. Last like 4 or 5 years, first round wide receivers almost across the board have really succeeded in really big ways. Like
not to say that you have Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle, DeVonta Smith. I mean, CeeDee Lamb. All these guys have come into the league and produced and been really good players for their team. So, the draft is a crapshoot, and the Patriots' history with drafting wide receivers hasn't been great. Now, the free agent market at wide receiver is never good.
Because when you have good ones, you keep them.
Right. Or they get traded, for capital. So I understand what the caller is saying, that if you look at who's going to be a free agent next year, DeVante Parker probably would have been one of the better free agents on the market if he stayed healthy this year and produced. But I don't think that necessarily says much because of the way that position typically is in free agency. All right, let's try Spee again. Spee, are you there now?
Can you hear me, Houston?
We got you.
All right. It was pretty weird last time you guys were talking about how scary the ocean is and like rip currents and swimming parallel to the shore, and then all of a sudden Ryan Mallett gets swallowed up by a rip current the next day. Yeah,
and I didn't realize that area is so dangerous.
I read that 10 people have passed
11.
away,
I think
11.
Just this year.
Yeah, and we're talking firefighters.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mallett is a very probably strong guy, but don't mess with the ocean.
Well, Matisse, you said it's got to swim parallel to the beach.
You gotta let it. You let it take you out, and then you swim sideways to get by the rip. That's what I was always.
But it's
taught.
so counterintuitive.
Yeah, and also
and if you're not taught that.
If you're not taught that, also it's freaky as hell.
Yeah.
Like you never know what happens when a situation pops up, so it's super unfortunate.
Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole yesterday, and some advisors were saying that if you can, just float. Because sometimes swimming that way
tires you out.
Doesn't actually always work. So. Scary.
Well, you would think that a guy like Ryan Mallett would be able to to swim pretty far. I mean, he's a former athlete, a big guy.
Yeah, and only 35 years old.
Yeah.
Awful.
Go ahead,
That's
Speed.
really sad. I wanted to, before, I know Paul's got to eat, but like.
Not
one
yet.
thing
Not
Evan,
yet.
You've been doing. Okay. Evan, one thing you've been saying recently that's kind of given me a little bit of comfort is talking about the Diggs situation, and hey, is Buffalo going to implode? Which I think that's important because the Patriots, if they're going to make the postseason, they're going to need to get some help from the other AFC East teams. So I was kind of wondering, with the New Jersey Jets and the Dolphins, aside from the quarterback position, where with Tua's body and Rodgers' heart or lack thereof, like what are some other things that could maybe submarine those teams? Like, what are some ways you think they could fall apart? It's kind of like a bigger picture question with those guys.
Maybe we could put a pin in that and wait till Fred gets back. I'm sure he has a litany of ways that the other teams can all not be good.
That's where we're at.
Do you at least agree that that's going to be part of the equation for the Patriots this year?
This is where they've dropped to, is that you have to hope the other teams implode.
Don't you miss the days where we didn't even care about the other teams? It was just, are we hosting the AFC Championship game?
I used to
or are
love
we not?
looking at the list of the coaches and quarterbacks of the other three teams in the AFC East and saying, I remember him.
Yeah.
Like, that's how obscure some of the names, like Cleo Lemon. Like, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy. Now it's like, well, can maybe Stephon Diggs be cranky all year and maybe take the whole offense down with him?
Yeah, just got to root for a lot of disgruntled
and,
players.
Maybe can Tua get a concussion again and maybe not be able to play? That's what
wish injuries.
I don't wish injuries, but Fred does openly.
Maybe some like Dumois leaks that add rifts to the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, could Allen and Diggs be Donovan McNabb and T.O. all over again? Like, is Diggs going to be in his driveway with his shirt off doing crunches and saying how much he hates his quarterback? Like, can we have that?
He loved his other quarterback, though.
Diggs?
It's my quarterback. No, T.O.
T.O. Yeah.
It's my quarterback.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Well, Evan, you were right about male dolphins. They're monsters. And the other thing is,
I never
John
got
Lennon
the update on
was
that.
kind of a bad guy. John Lennon was a bad guy, too. Just letting you know.
Who was?
Okay.
John Lennon.
John Lennon.
I did not know that.
Is John Lennon the one with Yoko?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
you really are unbelievable.
Yoko.
Well, I heard Yoko was like
Yoko's
not great vibes.
Bad influence.
Well, Yoko broke up the Beatles.
Well,
Harrison broke up the Beatles.
That's not John Lennon. That was John Lennon's choice. And all the Beatles have testified.
That's him not being an alpha.
And there's also there's a lot of difference. Like, we don't have to go down to Beatles Unfiltered here, especially when I do not have the knowledge that Fred obviously brings.
I would just talk crap the whole time.
I'm going off of like some of the stuff that Fred has said in the past, and it was sort of one of those things that it wasn't always what it appeared. Everybody always blamed it on Yoko and her influence on John, but not really mentioned as much was Linda's influence on Paul and how that sort of rubs people the wrong way. And I think Matt's right. I think ultimately George Harrison just said enough with this because
he was getting all butthurt in the studio that Yoko was just hanging out, Linda was just hanging out, and his ideas weren't getting taken seriously.
And he was having
was he single?
No.
I don't think he's single.
Was he jealous?
He had
you don't have to be single.
No, he had some bad stuff going on, and like
Yoko definitely chilled John out. John was a known I'll start fighting you kind of person.
Really? See, I don't know.
I would never get
I don't
that
know enough about the Beatles
from looking at them and hearing their music.
All I know is that now with pop culture references with the Beatles, it's always like, if you break up a group, you're Yoko. You know, it's that's all. That's all I know. I don't
Tony
know
Braxton.
Right. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's all I got. All right, let's try Patty again. Patty, don't let me down this time.
Patty.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
What's going on, guys? And my 413 sister, Alex.
Howdy.
413
So I just wanted
Hey,
to,
we have a bond.
This one's from my 413 sister.
We have a bond. He's in the town over for me. Patty, I'm in West Side right now.
Oh, you are? Nice.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
West Springfield, man.
No one cares.
There's a West Side
Only
and
me
an
and
East
Patty
Side to
care.
Springfield.
No,
one
it's
cares
an
outside
own,
of 128,
it's its own town.
let alone 495.
All
It's its
I know,
own town.
The only thing for Springfield for me is is it near the Basketball Hall of Fame or not?
Yeah, right over the water, right over the bridge.
All right.
Six Flags.
Yeah, I live right over the river
Six
from
Flags.
there. So I had a couple. Well, I actually had a thought on the DeVante Parker contract extension and maybe just touch on music really quickly. To me, what this, like you guys always say, look at what Bill does, not what he says. To me, this kind of on. I think this is the guy or the kind of player that they envision having. Only Parker can play. He's proven he can play in this league. And even though he's 30 years old, I don't know if there's like any outs after the first or second year of the deal, but I do like Parker as a player, and I had a thought too about Hopkins. If they do end up signing him, what do you guys think about them using him kind of like the Cardinals used Fitzy towards the end of his career, where they, you know, he wasn't that X guy. They moved him inside, outside. And Paul, I got to ask you, what's your favorite Stones album?
I didn't hear that.
What's your favorite what?
Rolling Stones album.
Rolling Stones is probably the Start Me Up album.
Start Me Up?
Yeah, because I was not, like I told you, I wasn't like a big Stones fan. I liked the stuff. That was probably like 81, so I would be like in middle school then. Yeah, I like that album.
I was in grade school then. But yeah, I mean, I love all music, with maybe the exception of reggaeton. But yeah, dude, Exiled on Main Street is the Stones' best album. The Clash is the greatest band was the greatest band on the planet. And Ed Sheeran is, that's all I got, guys.
Okay, there you go.
He's higher on Parker the player than I am.
I don't even remember what he said about football. I just that whole
yeah.
spiel
Well,
at the
he's
end
talking.
lost me.
I do think it's a definite possibility to compare the late career of Fitzgerald when he went into the slot. He had never really played in the slot, and he was very productive as a slot guy. But
isn't that why Juju's here?
Yeah, I like. I mean, like, you're not going to say anything to me that says we don't need Hopkins. No, I think that they could use Hopkins.
Yeah.
I think whether you want to play him inside, outside, or whatever, I think he'd be the best receiver you have.
There's definitely alignment overlap that just based off of their historically how Hopkins has played and how Parker has played. They've both been outside receivers. They've both been guys that have played outside the numbers, X, whatever you want to call it. But I think the bigger thing is more about skill set to me than even about, like, they can figure out how to distribute the receivers. Like, Bill O'Brien will get them all on the field and he'll figure out the best way to, is he in the slot, is he this, is he whatever. The bigger problem or concern that I would have with it is you're pretty reliant on slower possession receivers with good hands and good contested catchability and body control, and who out of the group is separating, who out of the group is taking the top off the defense. And right, Thornton, but if you have Hopkins in the mix.
But if he's not on the field, he can't take the top off the defense or separate.
It's very slow right now.
It's a slow group still. That would be my concern with it, and it's, again, very reliant on downfield jump balls, back shoulder throws. Like, those are going to be your explosive plays in the offense. You know, seams to Gesicki. Like, is that really the way that you want to build your offense?
And the separators, I worry about Mac, because I wonder if he can complete enough passes to tightly covered guys to take advantage of, that kind of stuff, like man coverage and whatnot.
Right.
No, I'm not talking about downfield stuff or whatever. I think that's overrated because I think all NFL quarterbacks can throw the ball down the field. Like, some are more accurate than others, obviously. But to me, it's, can you have that, what's the Warren Sharp thing that you saw? The last 3 years, he has finished dead last among all rated wide receivers in separation.
Yeah.
Can Mac complete enough passes to a guy like that?
Yeah, I think that, I wanted to bring up the Warren Sharp thing. I think that the separation as a metric has some flaws to it in general.
It has some subjectivity to it.
Right.
That's for sure.
In context of, okay, well, if this player is playing a predominantly outside receiver, X-receiver type of role, and he's seeing a ton of backside man coverage, then it lends itself to the fact that he's probably going to be in tighter coverage situations than somebody that's running through zones in the middle of the field. Now, with that being said, I would also say that that's not Parker's game. Parker's not a separator. We know that's not his game. So it's kind of like expecting a guy that, that pitches and he's all about control and putting the ball in good places and maybe off speed stuff. And then you're like, well, why is his strikeout rate really low? Well, because he doesn't have swing and miss pitches. So Parker is a contested catch guy. We've known that. but at the same time, I still do get concerned about they are building a receiving core that is a lot of those types of guys.
Yeah, because my follow-up would be then why do we extend the guy who doesn't have a good strikeout rate? Like I wouldn't want to,
Right.
I'd rather, rely on Bayo, who's going to strike guys out and has that kind of stuff than Connor Siebold, who I don't think did.
Right.
He's gone now.
Bayo in this scenario, since we're crossing sports fully now, Bayo in this scenario would be a little bit like Taekwon because Bayo early on this year they almost sent him back down to Worcester. Like
they did.
Yeah, he was struggling really badly, and now he's like been great for the last 2 months. So that's one of those scenarios where eventually they just kind of let him pitch his way out of it and figure it out. And that is a concern. All right, we'll take one last call, and then Paul's food is here, so we'll break for lunch. But
top-notch facilitation.
Mike in
Top-notch.
Tampa Brady, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys? So I had two different things. One was the Ed Sheeran songs, good one. That if you guys have ever seen Sons of Anarchy,
yes.
One of the last episodes, he's got a song on there called "Make It Rain." I would check that one out. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
And as far as football is concerned, I want to say last week or the week before, you guys were running off a laundry list for Mac Jones about what would make him, what might make him better, or what we would have to do to see the most out of him. And it seemed like that list was really long just to get him to be serviceable.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like a lot harsher than we. Like he doesn't have to do a ton of improvement to be serviceable. Like I think he is serviceable now. I don't think he needs. I don't think he needs to have tremendous strides to be serviceable.
Then I'm misremembering what I heard, but it seemed like there was a laundry list of stuff that. Like, if he had a better offensive line and better wide receivers and better this and better that, we could really get the most out of him. And
well, then you could figure out if he was good enough.
The team would be much better. And I know that sounds kind of like, hello, connect the dots. But if he needs that much work to get us to where we want to be, shouldn't we move on? Like, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's an argument.
For Brock Purdy.
But
there's an argument to be made for that.
Sure,
yes.
but I think my pushback on this argument is always like, so we need to make it harder on him so that he can prove himself as being somebody that can.
I like the way you put that.
Right. Like
No, Evan, not at all. So, what I'm trying to get at with that is when you need that much, maybe you're trying too hard to get to where you want to be, and you can make it easier on yourself by finding somebody who has those missing pieces that Mac doesn't have, rather, like the power to get the ball down the field with some velocity and fit the ball into tight windows.
Right.
Mac's got touch passes all day long.
But I hear you, but my point is that I don't think that any quarterback is going to succeed with nothing around him, just because of his greatness. Like, even a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who you can make the argument, Kansas City outside of Travis Kelce just has some okay pieces around Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes has Travis Kelce. He has arguably the best play caller in the sport, and he's got a stable offensive line now. And that's why he's great. That's what gets him to allow him to be great. So we saw it here with Brady, when they had down years at receiver, they didn't win. Like, they didn't win in 2013. They didn't win with Riche Caldwell in, what was that, 05 or 6? Yeah. They didn't win those years. So even the great guys still need help. And we saw it, unfortunately, my last year with Brady, covering the team, and everybody else is in 19. He was still great. He went to Tampa Bay and he won a Super Bowl immediately. So, that's the thing is, like, even if you find the golden goose quarterback and you find your Patrick Mahomes, like you still got to put the pieces around him. And I think that you can really, that's still good business, regardless of if it's Mac or if it's somebody better.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, hey, thank you guys for taking my call. Paulie, enjoy the lunch. I really enjoyed listening to you guys every week.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem, Mike.
Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
calling in. And I do hear his point because Paul,
yeah.
you talk about it all the time with Drew Bledsoe. Like you just kept on trying to make Drew Bledsoe.
Well, but I agree with Mike's premise. Like, what quarterback in the league wouldn't succeed with all of the, a great offensive line, great running game, great receivers, great defense, great coach? Like, what do I need you for? That to me is Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Like, he has the best weapons. I think Bill Barnwell had San Francisco 1 in that list that you cited earlier. He has the best weapons in the league. They have a great defense.
Okay, I thought he was suggesting switch Mac Jones for Brock Purdy.
No, I think
I wasn't about to let that slide.
I think what
I'm
he's
saying,
suggesting is that they're
but
interchangeable.
who couldn't do it if you had all of that?
Because if you put Mac Jones in that offense, like who knows what would happen?
I think what he's suggesting, and I honestly, I'm interested to see if this is the way that Bill handles it, is if Mac Jones is a replacement level quarterback, then instead of after the 5th-year option or 4 years, instead of paying him Daniel Jones money, just replace him.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's what he'll do, unless he makes an enormous leap.
Yeah,
I think that's what he'll do.
All right, we're gonna take a break.
Hey, before we take the
Yes.
quick break, I want to let everybody know. I know everybody's listening to us, and why wouldn't you be? But NFL Network just starting their sort of tribute to the Patriots from the 2010 the Dynasty 2.0.
There you go.
How's that? Is that the best way to put it?
I like
The
it.
second half?
Yes.
Second half of the Dynasty, the programming on NFL Network is going to be sort of wall-to-wall Patriots this afternoon. I think the first one is going to be the divisional round game against Baltimore in 2014, which was an epic 35-31 game, one of the best playoff games of the entire era. One that gets overlooked a little bit.
They did have to show the 09 Ravens.
Well, they
game
showed all
first.
three of them.
That's what I thought I saw.
It was a trilogy. They showed the 09, and then they
the
showed
Cundiff
they
game.
showed the Cundiff game, and then
Yeah.
they showed the next year when
I could have
the
done,
Ravens
if
won.
we're gonna pump up the Patriots though. I could have done without the Ray Rice 09.
That was
game.
brutal.
I could have done without that one.
I told you that was the game right outside that door, and I opened the door to come in, and Ray Lewis was screaming at everybody. I said, "Ruh-roh, I think we're in trouble."
God, that was young Evan. That was a crushing blow for young Evan.
Oof.
That was a tough game.
That was me in boarding school, getting my heart ripped out.
Yeah, that was a tough one. And Wes Welker,
In
tears
boarding,
his
that's the most
ACL.
unrelatable thing you've
Board
ever.
school.
Boarding school.
Board school.
Like that's like he's like he wasn't really at one of those prep schools.
Public school.
It's boarding school.
But maybe we'll talk a little bit of
I was at Everett
2014
High.
divisional round when we get back after the break because that was a great game. That was a great game. All right, we're going to take a break. Paul's going to eat. We'll talk to you in a second.
Finally, a phone plan that puts you in charge. Introducing the new My Plan from Verizon. Control what goes into your plan and what stays out of it. Get exactly what you want, only pay for what you need. Get My Plan at your Verizon store today. It's your Verizon.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment, day in and day out, to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
There's no season better than football season, and there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week, so head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Patriots fans, you'll want to check out the replay on this one. Pat the Patriot is stealing the show tonight with his Bank of America mobile banking app.
That's right, folks. So here we see Pat cheering, and then whammo! Is that Bank of America life plan?
Looks like he's saving up for some big future moves. Planning the next vacay, huh, big guy?
And wait, now he's paying back his buddy for concessions using Zelle? No penalty there. Incredible.
No way. As if that double move wasn't impressive enough, now he's beefing up his account defense with security meter? Holy cannoli, what a performance.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive, Patriot fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking. You must be enrolled in online banking or download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Finally, a phone plan that puts you in charge. Introducing the new My Plan from Verizon. Control what goes into your plan and what stays out of it. Get exactly what you want, only pay for what you need. Get My Plan at your Verizon store today. It's your Verizon.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment, day in and day out, to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
There's no season better than football season, and there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week, so head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Patriots fans, you'll want to check out the replay on this one. Pat the Patriot is stealing the show tonight with his Bank of America mobile banking app.
That's right, folks. So here we see Pat cheering, and then whammo! Is that Bank of America life plan?
Looks like he's saving up for some big future moves. Planning the next vacay, huh, big guy?
And wait, now he's paying back his buddy for concessions using Zelle? No penalty there. Incredible!
No way! As if that double move wasn't impressive enough, now he's beefing up his account defense with security meter? Holy cannoli, what a performance!
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive, Patriot fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking. You must be enrolled in online banking or download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Finally, a phone plan that puts you in charge. Introducing the new My Plan from Verizon. Control what goes into your plan and what stays out of it. Get exactly what you want, only pay for what you need. Get My Plan at your Verizon store today. It's your Verizon.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
And now, great moments in history.
Here's what I would like you to adopt on Unfiltered and every other thing that you do in here, God knows what, during the week. Take a little more Zen approach, and you're in the moment. Whatever you're doing, you do that.
No, we have
okay?
to eat. It's fuel.
How about 11 minutes? Is that egregious? Is 11 minutes
in
a
the
long
whole
time?
day? You see, here's the thing. His workday is 4 hours. Our workday is 10 hours.
Yeah.
That's what he doesn't understand.
Now, does
That's what he doesn't understand.
In Hardy's defense, he works more than 4 hours.
Does that include when I'm here doing the revs, where I'm doing my satellite
I'm talking
radio
about
show
on a single
every
day. On a single day.
On a single
we are
day,
not
I
here
work-
to do the podcast / radio show.
Okay.
We're here to do other things. We throw that in for our fans. And our fans understand that we need to eat.
Right. You and I both carry a little personal work meter.
Do you
with
believe
us
in
during the week.
UFOs, Hardy?
And you just
Let's talk about UFOs.
Wow.
You know what?
He's going there.
And I'm
going there.
That's another great moment from
We're back, and Paul has just finished his food like right on time, and I always find it fascinating
Efficiency.
that you manage to do that every single time. You never miss a beat.
Why do you think I look the way I do?
That's not where I was going with that, but
Eating crap in like 30 seconds. That's why you get fat.
A bit of timing's on my part here watching them eat.
that's true. Marine's got the timing down too. It seems like you guys have done this before. It's not your first rodeo.
Well, you have to eat as fast as you can before your brain can signal down to your stomach and be like, "Yo, I'm full."
Stop doing that.
Yeah.
I always get slandered
God,
for eating too fast.
The whole
I'm the
brain
slowest eater in the
signaling
world.
to your
I'm
stomach.
the quickest eater in the world.
My brain never tells my stomach that I'm full.
That's
Never.
because you probably have some unhealthy things going on in your gut microbiome, but
My what?
Don't just.
It's a whole other story.
My
Smile and nod. Leave her alone.
That's a big word that I.
She has a lot of big words.
your gut's like your second brain, you guys.
I have never once in my life thought to myself,
I couldn't
while
eat another
eating, I couldn't eat another bite. Now, 10 minutes later, after it hits me how much I just ate.
The IBS kicks in.
Yeah, sure.
You have that?
No. I do. I do.
I was going to say, Andy Hart had it. And
I don't
that
eat
would be
dairy.
amazing.
That's
that
true.
Our, multiple members of this show.
No, I don't have that, thank
I'm
God.
pretty sure I got it, but I eat like trash too, so it's probably my fault.
Well, I always used to say that to Andy. I was like, did you ever try to actually eat normal and see how it goes? No.
I know. I was just on a bachelorette. One of my friends, like, she's just now trying vegetables and stuff, and she's a really petite girl, and she can't believe she's like pre-diabetic. And I'm like, that's because we went out to like a 5-star restaurant, and you asked for buttered noodles, and we were
She
eating
gets
like
it.
elk and stuff, and
elk.
Just gotta.
How was the elk?
Almost as good as the octopus.
Okay.
Octopus is good.
yeah,
Smoked octopus.
Southbound Charleston, South Carolina. Great restaurant.
So we actually had elk on this show.
Oh.
Someone came and cooked it for us right out in the parking lot.
I was going to say
I
in
don't
here.
know.
Nope, right out in the parking lot.
I don't know.
It was very good.
I would try it just because I try anything.
It's
but
one of the most healthy protein.
As I like to say.
It's really good.
Okay. All right. Alex,
I agree with you, though. Generally
knows a lot about food.
when I stop eating, it's out of embarrassment, not satisfaction.
I don't know. I just I'm
People are looking at me.
I'm definitely
I'm
one of
gonna
those
stop now.
one of those people that needs to tell myself to stop eating, because if I eat as much as I really want to, then I'll be 300 pounds. So I have to control myself. But I'm never full. Never. I don't know. It's one of those problems. But
That's because actually, I'm just gonna stop. You're not eating foods that are satisfying you. You're tricking your body, and then you're just like, wait, I'm still hungry. I ate all this food, but I got nothing from it.
you're telling me my Jersey Mike's number 7 is not fulfilling my.
Or the tendies in the commons.
Yeah.
Attendees in the comments.
I've
are
heard some
pretty good.
I've heard some good things and
Oh,
some
yeah.
bad things.
I did a
about
double
attendees.
order yesterday.
I-
so.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
How was your afternoon after that?
It was
Tease?
fine.
I actually included the fries with my tendies
I did that
yesterday,
too.
which I haven't done.
I got a fry yesterday too with my quinoa bowl. I will admit.
You get the sriracha, dip the fries in the sriracha, it slaps.
The guys are doing
It
good work up there.
slaps.
I love the kitchen guys up there.
So they're showing on NFL Network right now the 2014 divisional round game against Baltimore, and they're explaining the ineligible receiver formation that the Patriots used in this game to trick the Ravens. And to me, that will never get old. I will never get over watching John Harbaugh lose his mind on the sideline trying to figure this out. I think we got to go around the table though. I know where Paul was because he was here when this game happened.
This is one of the best. Seriously, I said it before the break. This is one of the best playoff games, and I don't think it gets as much attention as a lot of others.
It was a classic. Where were you guys when this game happened?
I was in my mom's living room screaming at the TV when Flacco threw that ball at the end. I swear it was in the air for 45 seconds. That's all I remember.
Yep.
I think I was at my friend Morgan's house.
Morgan.
My friend Morgan. We were just having a lot of watch parties those days.
I think I was on break, wasn't it? When was that?
Yeah,
December?
so that was for me. I was in college.
Yeah, I was a junior.
So that was right in the middle of winter break.
Yep.
We were on vacation, and I remember to this day that my mom was furious because my mom's not a football fan, doesn't watch football. And we were on vacation, family vacation, and me and my dad and my sister wanted to stay in that night and watch the game. And we got takeout from the restaurant at the hotel, and and did a little party in the hotel room. And my mom is like furious because we didn't go out.
No, the Pats are
on vacation, and she just didn't really understand. And then it turned out to be the greatest divisional round game they probably ever played. And in hindsight, I think it was great that luckily they won. I probably would have ruined the rest of the vacation if they had lost. So I'm glad that they had won. But
was she less mad after the win, or was she?
She was relieved. She always said every time that the Patriots played in a big game, like a playoff game or a Super Bowl, it was relief when they won.
Were
Because
you a huge brat when they lost? Like, would you cry?
I wouldn't cry. I'd usually go into a fortress of solitude for a little while and
plead the fifth.
Yeah, a big.
So it's probably a nice break on your mom when they lost.
A big
I don't
thing
have to deal with
for
them.
me, on a Sunday, before I'd start, I just go outside and shoot hoops in my driveway by myself for an hour and not talk to anybody, or something like that. But yeah, it was. You could hear a pin drop in my house when they were losing, in a playoff game. You could. There was no talking. We wouldn't even look at each other. You just kind of sit there in silence. But Paul, what's your favorite moment of this game? Because there's a lot of great moments out of this one.
I think they just showed it. I think the double pass, the place went absolutely ballistic. In Edelman to Amendola for the tying touchdown. One of the most underrated throws of Brady's career, however, is the winning touchdown.
To LaFell. Yeah.
Which is coming up shortly.
So he actually he was on a radio show talking about his favorite throws that he has ever made, and he actually gave LaFell the credit for that one, said it was a tougher catch than it was a throw.
It was a tough catch, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was everything about that play, and especially when you take into consideration the circumstances, that was great. I loved those playoff games with Baltimore were the best.
Yeah.
I think they had 4 of them, went 2-2. They were different. They would, as the kids say, he's built different.
Diffy.
Well, they were
Diffy.
we didn't have many games that we were really nervous about until really you got to the AFC Championship, the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But Baltimore, that was always oh.
The dynasty, the first part of the dynasty, all of the playoff games were like that. The second part, it was Tim Tebow, Brock Osweiler. You're playing against guys that can't compete. Marcus Mariota.
Remember
Who
that?
am I leaving out? The tomato can, the parade of the tomato cans.
Was it?
As Shaughnessy
Was
used to call
Schaub
them.
in one of those Houston? Because they played Houston twice,
There was
right?
Osweiler for
Schaub,
one,
I
wasn't
do
it?
think, was one of them.
Yeah, because I remember
the Brock Star.
Because they played.
Well, Osweiler was definitely one.
Right, and then they played. They played
look at
Houston.
that. Oh my God, what a throw! What a catch!
The other time is when Gronk re-landed on the forearm and re-broke his forearm. I think that was 13.
That was
Houston.
a Houston game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a deceptively high scoring game.
Yeah,
too.
Shane Vereen, I think a wheel
The
route out of the backfield.
Did he have
right?
a kick return in that game too?
He might have.
The Patriots had that game in control.
Yeah,
but it was pretty high scoring.
Got a young Dev right there, young Devin McCourty, talking about
one of
this
the playoff
game.
games that stands out to me. I think it was the 2015 Broncos one, kind of snowy. Pat's O-line was just so beat up.
Yeah.
They lost by 1 or something like that. But that's a game that always stands out to me.
Yeah, that one was tough because they lead the drive down, and Brady has the 4th down throw to Gronkowski, which is definitely on his Mount Rushmore of throws.
Has to be.
And then he misses him on the 2-point conversion,
Which Gostkowski missed earlier, right?
Yeah, and that was what ended up costing them the game.
And was that the year where Harper muffed the punt? That's why it wasn't a Gillette?
Oh, when they lost?
Yeah.
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 That was tough.
15.
Yeah, it was
I can
15.
give you my cavalcade of BB screw-ups that cost them a Super Bowl that year. That would be one.
Yep.
That's when it started. The mortar kick, the corpse of Steven Jackson,
Yeah.
and kicking off in overtime.
Yeah.
Those are 4 games you lost in the last 7 weeks of the season that if you won any one of them, you would have hosted the AFC Championship game, and I think you would have won it.
Yeah.
If you hosted it. But that's just me. I'm crazy like that.
I forgot about the Hail Mary suspense in
Yeah,
this
that
one.
ball was in the air for what felt like 45 seconds
Well,
to 2 minutes.
But that's the Hail Mary. The drive, like there was 2 things. One, when they kicked a field goal to go up 31-28, it should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
I forget. I think it was Dennis Pitta.
Dropped it.
Dropped a touchdown. And then they were moving again when it was, I think they were down 35-31. If you remember, both teams pretty much moved the ball at will in that game.
Yeah.
The Ravens looked like they were going to respond and take the lead again. They had a good little drive going, and for some reason, Flacco went for it all. And I think Duron Harmon, that was one of his Mariano Rivera picks.
Closers.
Yeah.
Closer.
And he came up with a big play. But I thought they took an unnecessary shot into the end zone that didn't need to happen there.
Yeah, I didn't really. You always remember those Hail Mary plays, and some of those are a lot closer than you remember when you see them again, right? You know, that one tipped up.
They're almost all close when you actually watch them in slow motion. Like the Eagles one that the Patriots lost.
Yeah.
There was, like, they went up and everybody sort of batted it down. And then one of the Eagles defenders sort of gets twisted, and his arm goes up and hits the ball back up in the air a little bit by accident, totally not intentional, but it just fell in an area that really weren't any Patriots.
Yeah. It's also crazy because like the Hail Mary is the one play in the NFL. Like the refs probably aren't going to throw anything. Like people are just getting
God, people
in the
kill
end
each other
zone,
in those,
like,
and they should.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what was it? Was it the Eagles one? Like Gronk was getting he was getting jumped on by people.
Yeah,
like,
and they're just not
going to
call it.
Yeah, never. You can't call that.
Actually, Hogan gets lit up at like the 20-yard
Yep.
line, just running down the field.
Yeah, and then the second Giants Super Bowl, if healthy Gronk makes that catch.
Yep.
Healthy Gronk catches that on the shoestrings, and they ride off into the sunset. That one's also, that Hail Mary is razor thin.
Which
like
one?
The second Giants Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's one that I think is an example of it looks a lot closer in super slow motion than it was.
Yeah.
Like the ball's kind of on the ground before Gronk dives for it.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm going to...
Evan's saying if his ankle's healthy, he's there
Ankle's
quicker.
healthy. He gets
well,
it.
if his ankle's healthy, the game's all different. If you were
Yeah.
going to play that game.
The butterfly effect.
I just need the ankle to
No-
be healthy for that
no
one
more shoulda,
moment.
woulda,
I don't
coulda.
need the whole game.
No,
to be
I don't need to
different.
be greedy. I just needed it to be healthy on
Just
that
the
one.
stem
one
cells
play.
kick in, the cortisol kicks in right there.
That one's still. Are you like that, or do the losses still stick with you even though they won 6 times? Like
they definitely do stick to me, and it's part of that whole sort of mantra that I have. Like I'm always worried about something. I know this sounds incredibly selfish and sort of greedy, but I feel like they left some out there.
Is this you've told me this before? I wasn't sure. Do you feel like
I don't go all in on this one, and people that are listening are going to be like, since when does he hold back? I'm out of fear. Like I normally do not care at all about the backlash that I get, because I get a lot of backlash, about a lot of things, not the least of which is being fat. But that happens. What are you going to do? I'm fat. I have to live with that. I don't want to go all in on like how many Super Bowls they should have won, but I do kind of think that they left. I think 06 is a glaring example. I think 15 is a glaring example. I think they left some on the now. And you can easily cut back and say, if not for a play in 5 of the 6 wins, they could have lost.
Yep.
Absolutely valid. Absolutely true. They easily could have lost to the Rams. They easily could have lost to the Panthers.
Isn't that why it feels like they won exactly the amount that they probably should have won?
Probably. Which is another reason why I don't go all in.
I would have really liked one of those Giants ones, just one of them.
Oh,
I think I would have liked
preferably
the
the second Giants one. I think they were closer to winning than the first. The first one, to me, I thought they got as thoroughly all played as you can get, with the exception of the very first drive of the game. Patriots went down the field, bang, just like they did every other time in 07. And after that, the Giants kicked the snot out of them in that game. The second Giants game, I thought the Giants started fast, and the Patriots eventually, I thought, took control of the game. And that double score, to me, was just like methodical. Long drive to end the second, long drive to start the third. I was like, the Giants haven't had the ball in like an hour and a half, and the Patriots are in complete control of this game until they weren't.
I think the second Eagles one would have stung a lot more if they didn't win the next year. Like, I think that game would drive me crazy. Like, Clement's foot out of bounds. Like, you can always say everything that should have happened didn't get called, but that one would sting a lot more.
That's what you come back to.
Yeah.
I will,
as a Patriots fan, not like why is Johnson Batamosi in coverage.
That's a whole separate conversation.
Why is Malcolm Butler on the sideline? Maybe by a dimple of a football, a guy maybe wasn't in bounds when he caught a touch. That's what you fall back.
No, his foot was out of bounds, but
no, not necessarily.
See that I think the Malcolm Butler thing's a whole separate story.
You're talking about the bobble.
Yeah.
It's close.
It's close, but they called it one way all year long, and then they did.
They called it right in the championship.
I agree.
Which every Patriots fan, if they had a hand on a Bible, would admit.
No, I agree that was the correct call. That just wasn't a consistent.
And the
call.
Zach Ertz one was not even close.
No.
He took 3 full strides
No.
before
People
he
think
dove
that one
into
was
the end
close?
zone. Chris Collinsworth said it was going to get overturned live.
Oh God, that's why I don't pay attention to Chris Collinsworth. But I mean, look,
it was the Jesse James play.
You can talk about all these the Eagles' second Super Bowl. If the Patriots go 19-0, I'm all set for life. Like that was it for me.
That was a big great
to
debate.
go 19-0, and then everything we've done after that is nothing. You're cool with that?
Yeah, you cool with that?
It's a good
Are
question.
You as cool with that as I am with Marcus Smart not being
I'm
a
just
Celtic?
asking you to clarify.
It's a good question because this is something that I have thought about way too much. Is would I trade 19-0 for the other 3 Super Bowls that they won in the 2010s? And it's like how I imagine parents pick between 2 children. Like, how do you do that, right? Like, you can't do it. There's no good answer. Like,
it's easy.
As a confident favorite, I don't know.
I don't know.
think it's easy.
I can't. Well, I'm not the favorite.
It's you can pick the favorite. You can't say it out loud.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say that fully, but I'm close. It's kind of like Paul with his opinion that they could have won more. I might trade the other 3 Super Bowls for 19-0. I might do it.
No.
The Seahawks one and the 51 were unreal.
I was older for the last year. I appreciated them so much more. I wasn't just like a young dumb kid.
I was in high school for 19-0 as a freshman, I think.
I was
in high
in middle
school.
school. I remember going home, my AIM away message, just ranting away at the loss.
I think the thing was for me is that at the time, Randy Moss was my favorite non-Brady Patriot.
Yep.
By far, not even close. So the fact that he didn't win kills me, and the fact that that record-breaking year ended the way that it did for him kills me. And I was also a huge Wes Welker guy because as a undersized Caucasian man, I thought, oh well, Wes Welker made it in the NFL. Why can't I? Stupidly, very stupidly. So
That's great.
So I was a huge Wes Welker guy too, because and Edelman, also because of the same reason.
Edelman was Jewish. You'd think you'd have more to cling on to with him.
Yeah, but Wes was first, So, but I truly believe that there's a path for me. Like I look at this.
There's a path.
Is your release
it's
faster?
So funny because that's what we talk
Parker's?
about at all the community events. The guys are like, it's really important for them to see what they can achieve, and that's what you're giving us now.
Now, 15 years later, I can't even keep a straight face, thinking that there was a path ever that existed.
That's awesome.
This is so funny.
Just so you know, we are revisiting this when Fred and Mike
It's
get
so
back.
true. I really believed, okay, here's Wes Welker. He's the same size as me in terms of height, not weight because he was all muscle and I was not, but height and all that kind of stuff. And I really felt like if I worked as hard as he did, and I could do it. Similarly in basketball, I was a huge J.J. Redick fan because J.J. Redick was not the best athlete, but he was a dominant three-point shooter, and he made the NBA because he could shoot, and that was it.
Tall,
This
too.
is why we need to do the
JJ's
content
pretty tall.
team.
Yeah, he's a
combine.
lot bigger. Mark Price was
One of the
guy.
best shooters.
High school basketball. I wasn't a good basketball player, but all the kids, they were like, Mark Price, like he's just like if you just work hard, like that's Mark Price. Like Mark Price is ridiculously athletic point guard. Like just because he wasn't considered athletic among his peers in the NBA doesn't mean he wasn't like way more skilled than some joker playing high
It's
school
like
basketball.
Scalabrini challenging people to one-on-one.
Yeah, or like playing pickup at the Y.
So that's different though because Scal's like 7 feet tall, so he's just like genetically bigger than you, even if he's not like more skilled at basketball. I was convinced that I had the exact same body type as Wes Welker, so why couldn't that be me?
Evan, this is why we need to have the content team combined. And we'll do the 40-yard
No,
dash.
because
the
then you'll
jugs
find out
machine.
why it couldn't be me. So,
Yeah, but it would still be so fun.
well,
I want to do it.
I don't know if I can sign up for that kind of embarrassment. I know my 40 time right now is if I'm lucky to break 7 seconds at this point.
Andy
so.
did the combine for a big feature that we did 100 years ago, but like the only thing he did at any kind of a level was the bench press.
There we go.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
T-Rex.
I don't know. Would I trade?
I was sick of it because it sucked.
Would I trade 19-0 for the other 3 Super Bowls? I might.
That's the great debate.
I might.
It's basically we're saying if you had that and then Brady was going to retire, and
That's the
you
thing.
had that and you didn't have. So it was a guarantee that you weren't going to win. Would you take that?
That's the thing. If you told me that you won in 07 and Brady didn't play for another decade after that, then I'm easily taking 07. But because he played for so long after the
You
fact,
knew there was a chance that like they did, you could win 3 more.
It's literally giving up on a whole nother career for most quarterbacks, right? It's.
Did you
so,
see?
I don't know.
And you would know this. Like there was one of those like strange stats that you can't believe is true thing.
Yeah.
About if you took away the 7 Super Bowls that Brady has, he'd still be the #1 all-time in postseason touchdown passes and yards and
it's
all that.
crazy.
Now, what I need a little bit further context. Like, you telling me you're taking away 22 games? Like, so the 6 times they won with the Patriots, that's 18 games. Three games through the play. Plus the Tampa one was 4 games. So that's, you're taking away all of those games, or are you just taking away the actual Super Bowls?
I would assume it's just the actual.
Because it didn't seem to be plausible, but if you took away the playoff runs, all 7 times he won the Super Bowl, that's amazing. If he's still, I know that like you could do like he had a Hall of Fame career twice. I know that whole thing.
Yeah. Well, that's my point with 07 is you're giving up a Hall of Fame career in Dynasty 2.0 by cutting it off in 07. So that does make it a little bit more difficult.
And you missed the whole Gronk era.
Whoa. Who says that Gronk didn't come?
Yeah, why can't it be like
So
Ben
this is
Coates?
how we.
But what if it's
this
some
is great.
scrub
This is,
throwing
it's
a
like
Gronk,
Andy's
and
right
Gronk's
there.
like, yo, I'm not playing with this scrub. I'm out.
Like Drew Bledsoe?
Whoa.
Hey,
I'm saying it
Drew's
could.
my friend. I met him in the parking lot.
I'm saying it could be like Drew Bledsoe and Ben Coates, which wasn't bad.
I was going to say he would have been just fine with Drew.
Right. It would have been fine. That was my point. I wasn't a shot at Drew. Maybe it was a little bit of a shot.
It was a little bit, but
That's
it
not
was
what we're
it's not
saying,
warranted.
though. We're saying you're missing Brady and Gronk together.
I know. That one is tough. That is tough.
Let it marinate.
This has been marinating for
Way
5
too
years.
long.
I go back and forth. All right, let's take one more call here from Vancouver, all the way up in Canada from Paul. What's up, Paul?
Paulie.
Hey, guys, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
All right, Paul. Don't you feel kind of old when Evan says things like I was in high school when the
Yes.
2007 season?
Yes. I don't hate him as much as I do Alex, but yes.
I was in university for the Pats Bears Super Bowl.
Oh, you're older than me. Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's impressive. That was my senior year of high school.
I only
Pats
take
Bears.
8 shots at Paul, not callers.
Yeah, but I would still take Evan on him for a 40-yard dash thing. I'd stay in pretty damn good shape for that.
Not me. I would pull a
refereeing,
hammy,
I think.
40 yard. If I tried to run as fast as I could for 40 yards, there was a 0% chance that I wouldn't pull my hamstring.
You should see me in the pickup kickball league. I almost ripped the hamstring off the bone.
More of a 3-cone guy.
Just the fact that you
quicker
take part in a.
When's the last
kickball
time
league.
you sprinted?
Sprinted?
Yeah.
Me?
You too.
Oh,
Paul and Evan.
COVID.
COVID, yeah.
I was running a lot in COVID, and I used to sprint at
do
the end.
sprints?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
Oh, I sprint. I sprint all the time. I'm a basketball referee, so I do.
You don't sprint if you're a basketball
Okay,
referee.
Usain
That's
Bolt.
like saying Marcus Smart plays good, tough defense.
Paul, I just did a game last weekend here in Vancouver with the provincial under 17 boys team versus a university team because the provincial team's going to the nationals next month, and they wanted to practice 7-second offenses. So I was up and down that court real fast.
Yeah,
those kids
half
can
court to
fly.
baseline.
I'm a little surprised that basketball, not hockey, up there, huh?
Yeah, well, Paul, yeah, I know it's only half on there, but I run 50 Ks a week too. So.
Oh wow.
So I do a variety of stuff. But anyway, I got a question for you. With the NBA had their draft last week, and the NHL, well, right now it's ongoing rounds 2 to 7.
Right. Yep.
And both of them are going to start free agency next week. But the NFL has it the other way around. I know the current system came about more from litigation than really planning. But I do kind of think it's backwards for the NFL because there's way more players drafted in the NFL are going to play next year than is going to, especially in NHL, right? It's maybe 3 or 4 guys that might be there next year. They're drafted this yesterday or today. And for team purposes, building purposes, don't you think it's better to, and it's more opportunity to get best player available there first and then plug your needs in free agency? And then for the players, I think it's beneficial to them that they can hold sort of desperate teams over the barrel a little bit. And they might be able to get rid of all these, if the free agency is delayed, they might be able to get rid of these mini camps and, mandatory things that they don't want to go to anyway. So do you think there's any momentum to change this, or you just think they're just going to go with it? And do you think it's a better system, or?
Yeah, there has been talk about flip-flopping the timing, and I do understand. I don't necessarily understand what the second part of that was. I don't know how that would impact the spring camps or any of that.
I think he's saying that if free agency is not until May 1st.
Oh, no, they would never do that.
Right.
They would move the draft up. They wouldn't, because you can't push the. Think about when free agency is for the NFL and the NBA and the NHL. It's like 2 weeks after the season. It's the same timing as the NFL. The difference is the draft coincides with it. And for some reason, they have the draft 2 months later in the NFL. And people have talked about that. Wouldn't it make more sense? And I agree. If I were an owner, I would rather have the draft than free agency, because now I'm not necessarily having to spend $100 million to get somebody because I desperately need that somebody.
So I think
now I can see if I can fill it in the draft, and then if I can't, then I do free agency.
I think that the main thing to me that presents the issue there is planning and prep work for the draft. For the pro personnel side, gets really difficult because the coaches.
That's why it's not going to change. But
right. I mean, the coaches like Bill Belichick's the GM and he's making the picks. He's coaching until mid-January or early January, and then you're telling him that he's got a draft in 2 months instead of 3 or 4 months. Like that's a really quick turnaround.
Oh, I would do it even quicker than that.
I think that's too quick.
Yeah,
Because you have the combine, you have pro days.
I would have it.
Get that stuff
I would have it at the beginning of March. I would have it. The season ends first week of February. I give you a few weeks, but it's never going to go back because they've turned it into a money-making machine with the nonsense.
That's the thing. Ratings.
That is the combine.
And you're not competing with anything.
Nonsense.
Yeah, it's a complete and utter nonsense.
Yeah, especially now with the next gen type stuff. But it's also spreads out the calendar so that you have these different.
The NFL is relevant all year.
Cycle
Right.
points.
They'll never change it back. But the other sports have to do the same thing. Like you have your scouts and your general managers are the ones that make the picks in the draft.
Right, but I think in other sports, for the most part, and some teams in the NBA, I don't even know if this is true in the NBA anymore. They're like Tom Thibodeau. I remember he was like everything at one point in time, but that doesn't happen quite as often, I feel like, and there's not as much overlap. I don't know. I feel like it would be really difficult. I come at it from an angle of in the media and the cramming in the draft prep, because you're all pro football in the fall and winter, and I'm not even doing anywhere near the amount of work that
your
they
scouts
are.
Yeah, you have a team of scouts that are
Your
just
personnel
dedicated
department
to
is.
that
But
all
at the
year
end of the
long.
day, they still have to have, in our case, the head coach go through the scouting
Right. And
process.
how many times do you hear the term, that guy really rose or fell in the pre-draft process?
Because that's when the coaches get involved.
And I would argue that that's probably a bad thing.
I would say that it doesn't need to be quite as much time. I would agree. But I think the biggest thing is, and like the combine, it's a ratings bonanza, so they're probably going to keep it for the money side of things, but they could literally do away with the combine, and the league itself wouldn't suffer from it. Now they need the medical checks, and the in-person interviews I think are important as well that happen in Indy. But the actual event on the field, the 40, that type of stuff, if it wasn't a money-making machine, they don't. It's not practical. They don't need it anymore.
Pro days are so big now too.
But the pro days is the big thing for me as well. And if you're gonna, you have all these schools that hold these pro days, and these scouting departments and coaches need to go to all the pro days. You need to leave a little bit of an alley.
I'd argue that's why their teams are so
runway
bad at
to-
it.
Do you think 10 years the combine's going to be around?
Ultimately, yes, because I can't imagine
Too
the
much
NFL
money.
giving up the money. But I mean, there's teams that didn't even go to the combine this year. Some of the really analytically driven and younger regimes didn't even go. And nowadays, you have all this data from like next gen technology where you can get in-game speed, like how they're running in actually doing their jobs instead of just running in spandex in the combine. Now, the only difference is that data only goes back so far, whereas a scout that's been doing this for 100 years, he has 40 times for generations, right? So he can say, compare that his hand times from this year to 10 years ago, and maybe you wouldn't be able to do that with the chip, the next gen stuff, but I don't know. It's a cram session.
They're
to
never.
move the
It's
draft
never
up.
going to happen for all the reasons that we already said. But I could understand the rationale. The other three sports basically do it differently, but it's never going to change.
I would
the
al-
offseason
yeah.
has become a huge thing in the NFL.
I also don't
moneymaker.
see it as a advantage to the veteran players that are free agents to have the
No.
draft being first. I think it's actually a disadvantage.
100%.
Yes, I think it would be an advantage to the teams, the owners.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
An off-season change I'd like to see is set like a tampering period or a free agency for coaches. You know what I mean? Like if it was
I'm
like
with you on
2
this,
weeks
yeah.
after the Super Bowl, like now like all coaches
So
open season you
the
can talk to.
So the problem with that is that that there's tampering going on
Yeah.
anyways. Jonathan Gannon, hello. But at the same time, I agree with you 110% that it's an absolute mess. It's a conflict of interest across the board, and you're right. The best thing to do is to say we're all coaching hiring is going to start, after the Super Bowl. But the problem with that is that you lose a month, right? So the teams that are eliminated and don't make the playoffs, they want to get to work, right? And so you lose all that time. But I'm with you on that as well, that it's totally a mess.
So I want to end sort of where we started with DeVante Parker, because I wanted to get you had some numbers on his targets and whatnot analytically. You want to repeat those a little bit, because those are positive numbers for Parker.
Yeah, so on a per target, per reception basis, he was one of the better big play receivers in the league last year. 17.4 yards per reception. He didn't qualify for the leaderboard in yards per reception, but would have been top 5 in the league if he had. 11.5 yards per target at a 92 wide receivers. That's second best, only behind Jalen Waddle in yards per target. And he's a guy that doesn't drop very many passes. I think he had 1 drop all of last year. So the nerds, the math does like him quite a bit, other than the separation metrics.
Okay, so that was Warren Sharp, and I know you don't like Warren Sharp, so I'm going to ignore him.
I'm just kidding with Warren Sharp.
I'm going to ignore him. So, what's True Media?
True Media is like a PFF for.
Do we not like them either?
They're fine.
Okay, so I read this today. He ranked 56th in the league in yards per route run, and didn't rank in the top 150 in targets per route. He only had 1 game all year with 80 yards.
The Baltimore game.
So I think there are metrics to sort of the reason I bring this up, and I'm going to end the same way I started. I'm perfectly fine with having DeVante Parker on my team. I worry about what it might mean down the road. Not factually, just concern. Like, does it mean no Hopkins? Does it mean, well, we're a little worried about a guy like Thornton specifically, but on a lesser extent, Booty and Douglas.
Yeah.
Do we not see anything from them? Are we so concerned that we need to have veteran receivers under contract for 24 and beyond? I'm a little concerned about that.
Tease, final thoughts?
On Parker?
Yep.
I like it, whatever. Like, above average receiver. He's fine. I like it. Still go for Hopkins, though.
I wish everybody on Twitter had the same laid-back attitude as Matisse.
I like Parker more than I think most people do. I am excited to give him another year in a more competent, functional offense. Just see what happens. I'm just along for the ride.
If you let him go, if you trade him, I think there's more value to keeping him on the team than letting him walk or trading him or cutting him this offseason.
I will say when he did miss time with that concussion last year, it was kind of a reflection of where they were, but you did kind of feel like he could help if he came back.
You felt it for sure.
They punted every possession with him, and they punted every possession without him.
Okay,
they did.
A little harsh.
It's a little harsh.
No, what were they, like third from the bottom and 3 and outs?
I'm Team Vontae.
Something like that.
I'm gonna make it my goal to get him to come out of his shell this year.
I think Paul and I are.
Put him on some TikToks.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Why not? I'll make it happen.
Okay, I trust you. He doesn't like me. No, I'm just kidding.
You trust her. She's brokenhearted because Marcus Smart is on the Memphis Grizzlies, and you're trusting her.
I'm not brokenhearted. I'm a Grizzlies fan.
I trust her to
it's great
see when we're in the locker room. Little behind the scenes here. We're in the locker room. They love talking to Alex. They don't like talking to me as much because I want things that they can't tell me. Like what route were you running here? What was the play call there? Whatever.
I keep it light.
Yeah, Alex keeps it light.
I'm like
so
they think I'm like one of their friends.
They come up to her. They're what's going on? Me? They're like
dap me up.
Can't say anything in front of this kid. So it's
they
just
give
a
you
little
the
different.
side eye.
Alex, you want a minute on Marcus Smart? You want to pour one out? You weren't here when this happened.
Right out. I know. I was packing for a flight when the trade's all happening. I'm like, okay, Brogdon's gone. Whatever. Okay, Brad, I see you. Like, this is a piece we need. Cool. Wake up at 3:30 a.m. to catch my flight. My favorite player's not on the team anymore. It was a sad day. I don't get it. I was like, okay, like the 2 draft picks must have really swayed it here. Then the draft came, and I don't know. I don't like it.
Can I ask you, and I'm not being obtuse here, what made Marcus Smart your favorite player? Because he definitely has
the way he plays. I would have loved to play basketball with him. He's just gritty. He cares. I love the way he sees the game. I like the way he facilitates.
Can I ask what kind of player you were? Were you a big scorer?
I was a point guard. I was pretty scrappy.
Okay, so you wouldn't have minded playing with him then. That would be fine because you're not really looking for the ball to score or do anything. So no problem. If I'm Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, I don't necessarily want to play with that.
Who is the assist leader on that team? I don't even know what the numbers were, but
okay.
Assist leader.
I like defensive basketball. I think
I do too.
They want to get back to that, and I think
this is a step in that
they
direction.
got to continue to make some moves because I think we lost a lot of our heart. We lost a lot of our grit.
Hot.
I'm using our too, which I haven't done in a while.
We lost our hot.
We gotta, we're up against a little bit, but this is my one little pushback about the heart and soul of the Celtics going to Memphis. all playoffs long, and I defend the Celtics. I'm a green teamer. I'm a season ticket holder. I love the Celtics to death. All playoffs long, though, I hear about, they have no balls, they have no grit, they have no toughness, they wilt in the biggest moments.
And now they've lost their heart.
And now they've lost the grit.
You can find me saying on this radio show they have 1.5 dogs on this team. Marcus and and Derek White. And now I don't know.
So do you think, and this is my
It's
hope.
also Tatum's favorite player he's ever played with. That means something to me when that's my star I'm building my franchise around.
He'll get over it.
I don't think he cares enough.
So here's my thing. My one thing that I'm hopeful for, and I want your take on this. What if, in order for Tatum to be the dog, to be the alpha, they needed to move Marcus out of the picture? Like, what if Tatum now sees this leadership void, this alpha demeanor void?
Do we think he's going to fill it, or do we think it's going to be Jalen taking it upon himself? Because I'll
tell you,
Jalen.
I don't know the answer to any of those.
As
you know, I am well established. I worry about things that haven't happened. I just know that it wasn't going to happen with Marcus Smart being in that alpha role. It was not ever going to work.
But I don't think he necessarily wanted to be in the alpha role. I think he was like, all right, if no one else is going to. I think it was like, all right, if no one else is going to give a damn.
I just look forward to the last 5 minutes of a close game where he doesn't have to be out there. That's what I'm most looking forward to.
I think we're going to
So
feel
maybe when there's one guy completely uncovered, that guy might be able to make the shot.
Now.
I'm going to miss the Smart 4-3. That's all I'm going to miss.
When he made it 30% of the time.
I would have to have heard that to miss it.
Oh, the 6 games I watch at the Greatest Bar. I'm screaming it.
God.
We'll see. It's going to be an interesting.
I think the move itself on paper is probably a good move. We had a lot of guard depth. I think I told you I'd like to have a guy like Siakam or someone come in. We need a big. Al's too old now, so it's on paper I like the move. It just I liked it better when it was Brogdon.
Yeah, we all liked it better when it was Brogdon. I agree with that. But Paul,
except for Paul.
Paul said that.
Literally,
don't tell me
Brogdon's
not a better player
because I have
Smart.
to bring this up in front of Alex. Paul told me when this trade happened that Brogdon is a better defender than Marcus Smart.
He's a better player, I said.
Defensive player of the year.
No.
My
I
brain
know that.
broke.
He's told me that a number of times. So
My brain broke.
I'm well aware that he was the DPOY.
Better defensive player, Malcolm Brogdon.
I think we'll see it all shake out next year. We'll see it all shake out next year.
And I think they're comparable defensively. I think they both sucked defensively this
year.
You
think? Okay.
I think for his career, Brogdon was a good defensive player. I don't think he was last year.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
I know Smart wasn't.
All right. Well, we got to land this plane. That's my job to land the plane. So let's see how this goes. We don't have a show on Tuesday because it's America's birthday. So
yeah.
we take the show
we're back
off
on
Tuesday.
Thursday.
We're back on Thursday. I think everybody's back.
Me.
I think the gang is back
PTO
together.
Matisse.
And I do want to take
I'll be on PTO
take
too.
a minute to thank Matisse. Thank you for filling in
yes,
for the last couple of days.
Off-season
And you won't have to hear me host next week because I think
Deuce is coming back. I don't have to watch Deuce's house anymore. I've been staying at Chateau Deuce. I don't know if the listeners know.
Oh boy.
Holding it down,
We'll talk about
watering
that
the
next
wife's
Party's
plants.
lit, bro.
I can't say see you next Tuesday, so we'll see you next Thursday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.